Thinking about buying a franchise? Don't go it alone. Just like a buyer's agent in real estate, you deserve someone who's on your side every step of the way. That's where Todd Abraham, the franchise guy, comes in. Todd's consulting services are completely free to anyone looking to buy a franchise. He'll represent your interest, make sure all your questions are answered, and walk you through the entire buying process. With Todd in your corner, you'll have the best chance for success from your first call to the day you hold the keys to your new business. So before you buy a franchise, talk to someone who knows the industry inside and out and works for you. Call Todd Abraham, the franchise guy, today at 423-381-0925 for a free, no-pressure consultation. That's 423-381-0925. Your future in franchising starts here.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Franchise Flashlight podcast series on franchiseradio.net. My name is Todd Abraham, and today we are blessed to have with us, I'm going to call him Doctor because he's got enough years in the medical field, and he is a PA, Dr. Joe Radich. And he is based out of, as what I'd say, hot and humid South Florida, which makes us thankful for this modern day AC. I couldn't imagine what they did 100 years ago in the Southeast on these brutally hot, humid summer days. But without further ado, Dr. Joe, welcome to the podcast, brother.
Thank you so much for having me, Todd. I'm with you. I'm sweltering in one of these end of July days right now.
Actually, it's been really nice here today. I've been praising God all day. It's been a breeze. The humidity dropped way down, and every time I go outside, that breeze just caresses me. I'm like, oh, this is amazing. I wish every summer day could be like this. Um, so Dr. Radich is the founder of R3 Health, and the website is r3health.co, and I'm going to let him tell you about how that name came about and the different services that they provide. But from talking with Julietta Radici, who is what is her title with you? What do you call her?
She's kind of our VP of development and expansion.
Yes, business development, right. Sweet lady. I had what we call our discovery call with her to learn about the business. And what I love from talking to her and listening to her talk about you was the level of perfection and professionalism which you've put into this business model. So give us a brief history of yourself, and then what inspired you to launch this.
Yeah, for sure. Happy to. So I've been in the medical field for 15 years total. My traditional training is actually in orthopedics. So, I was doing joint replacement surgery and, non-invasive orthopedic injection and treatment for the first 3 years of my career. I'm from New York. And so I was with a pretty famous orthopedic institution up there in New York for the first 3 years of my career. But my passion was always kind of alternative, more regenerative medicine. And coming from orthopedics, I just got sick of chopping people up, cutting people up, putting screws and plates and rods into people. And I knew there had to be a better way, right? How do we help people not need the hardware, I guess, was really my mindset and my focus. And so that took me down a path of functional and integrative medicine. And I ended up doing a residency through the A4M, which is the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine. And really, once I kind of dove all into that scope of healthcare, I couldn't do anything else. So I got sick of the winters in New York. I moved down to South Florida.
You went from one extreme to the other, didn't you?
I did. I had to. If I never saw a snowflake again, I think I'd be happy.
Yeah, that's great.
So I ended up moving to Florida, beautiful Southeast Florida here in West Palm and Palm Beach. And I totally transitioned my scope of practice. I was sick of orthopedics, sick of traditional medicine. I was sick of not really being able to make a difference for people. And I decided to move into functional and integrative medicine. And I've been doing that ever since. And that's about 12, 13 years now. So, for us, what we do in the functional integrative medicine space is we want to help people understand how their bodies are aging, why their bodies are aging, and help implement more, alternative and natural remedies or treatment options to help slow aging down and reverse it.
So you
And
didn't find the fountain of youth
I didn't find the fountain of youth yet.
yet.
Yes.
You wanted to give people the healthy, natural, believable alternative to the fountain of youth.
Until we can find that darn fountain, I'm going to do my to help people slow it down as much as I can. Yes, sir.
Can you imagine, though? I mean, a guy, I think it was Ferdinand Magellan, wasn't it, that looked for the fountain of youth? And can you imagine them spending that much money and all those manpower resources looking for something that, in any common sense, so anybody would know this don't exist, and especially if it did not in South Florida.
That's for sure. And
That's
so
great.
much time and energy wasted.
Yeah. I mean, my God. All right. So now your practice, you have just the one location now, is that right?
We do. We have our main headquarter location in West Palm. Yes.
And what is the address for that location?
Our address is 2513 South Dixie Highway, West Palm Beach, Florida. 33407 is the zip code.
That's great. Then that is a true Southern name street there, South Dixie Avenue. And so tell us, I love, by the way, I'm looking at his website here again. It's the letter R3, the number 3 health.co, but their slogan is optimal is achievable. And I love that. It reminds me of one of the most powerful marketing slogans in the history of any sector was Lexus, the relentless pursuit of perfection, man. I mean, they used that and it was so good. I could see why they used it for years. So tell us about some of the different services that you offer through R3 Health.
Yeah, so R3 Health really came about because what we do is kind of really three aspects of health, wellness, and longevity, which is medical, right? So what we don't love is when people think of us as a med spa because we are not a med spa. We are a medical practice. So the first tier or the first component of R3 is medical. And then regen, right? So with my background in orthopedics and really helping people reverse the clock, regenerate their bodies. So regen therapies is the second scope. And then the third is beauty and aesthetics. So R3 came about because we're medical, regen, and beauty. And so, kind of our service offering kind of falls into one of those three buckets. Medical practice. So we act as, a medical facility for most people. And some people like us to be kind of like their primary care, but with a more alternative or kind of naturalistic approach. The regenerative stuff is everything that you would think about if you, go to your social media platform of choice and you start reading about peptides and stem cells and hormones and all these amazing regenerative medical modalities and treatments. And then aesthetically, right? We all want to look our best. And so we offer an array of aesthetic and beauty services, everything from traditional injectables to radio frequency and laser devices to just basic skin facials, everything that you would need from a beauty perspective. So medical, regen, and beauty is kind of our extensive service offering. And again, this all came about because we wanted to create a full wellness ecosystem, right? We have the capability to service patients and whatever their needs or demands are. Nobody has to leave our practice for any reason whatsoever. There are obviously limitations to that, right? But
Sure.
Wherever people come in, they also have a great segue into transitioning to be patients for us for other reasons as well because of the model.
Now, here's a quirky little question. Now, we're doing this on Zoom. You're listening to this on audio, most likely, if you're attending this podcast. But on Dr. Radich's jacket, it says PA-C. What does the -C stand for?
Just nationally board certified PA.
Gotcha. That's cool. Which is really the next level underneath a certified medical doctor, right?
Yep, correct. Yeah, we can do pretty much anything that a MD or a DO can do, except operate independently. So we can prescribe anything you want, we can diagnose anything you want, we can operate. We just can't run that operation solo. But
Well,
that's really
it's been my experience too, in the 58 years the Lord's blessed me to be on this planet, that in many cases, or at least in some cases, a good PA is better than a bad doctor, or what I should say, there are PAs out there who are more qualified than those who are certified medical doctors. So, in fact, I've got a friend of mine who has a clinic here called Restoration Clinic, and it's more of a general walk-in Christian-owned clinic. But I mean, she is one very super knowledgeable individual when it comes to any kind of, healthcare issues. So that's great. Now, so what size staff does it take to run a location like this, and what type of staff do you need?
Yeah, it's a good question. So we do need staffing with different credentials, right? Obviously, we need medical personnel. So you're looking at having a medical director, you're looking at having mid-level practitioner, you're looking at having, admin staff. So it really depends on kind of the size of the facility. We can be a little bit of flexible with our model as far as the brick and mortar footprint. I'd say on the smaller end of the spectrum, we can get an office done in 3,500 feet. In a best case scenario, it's probably 5 to 10,000 feet. So, a brick and mortar of that size, you're probably looking at a staff of between, 8 and 15 people.
But
Um,
how many of those would be need to be certified in some sort of, like you just said?
yeah, probably a smaller percentage, probably 25% of it is going to be your medical team. And then the rest of it's going to be more administrative and operations.
Right. And so the minimum square footage and maximum square use, I know you said 10,000, but you said minimum 3,500.
Yep. Correct.
Perfect. Perfect. Now, again, we're talking to Dr. Joe Radich from R3 Health. Their primary website, r3health.co, not com.co. And then their franchising website, which we're about to talk about, is r3healthfranchise.com. So you can check out that website while you're listening to the podcast. I don't normally do it in this order, but who is your ideal franchisee candidate?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So we definitely like someone who does have some, kind of professional development experience, some operational experience. They don't necessarily need to be medically trained. It certainly is a bonus, no question about it. As I'm sure we all know, the healthcare system is extremely complex. So having some sort of health kind of foundational knowledge, I think, is an added bonus, no question. But definitely someone that likes to be a little bit more hands-on in the day-to-day operation of the business, I think is also very attractive for us. Someone who's very well connected in their community. Our business is really built on organic referrals. So someone who does have that, that social connection through their community, or has synergistic businesses that they know are close by. So someone who's willing to be a little bit more hands-on, someone who has some medical background or medical knowledge, someone who likes to be a little bit more involved day to day, someone who's well connected in their community. And the geography is also important. These are
Right.
elective medical services, right? So we do have to be positioned in a demographic that has, disposable income as well.
Right, right. And then this individual who is a potential franchisee candidate, do they need to have a minimum net worth?
I think we do have some figure that's listed there. Yes, I mean I don't
That's
know it
on the franchise website.
all on the franchise website and all of
Perfect.
our ED documentation. But yes, this does take a little bit of working capital to get going. Off the top of my head, I would say no less than 500,000, but probably even a little bit more than that if I guessed.
Well, I mean, because this is not just a standard franchise offering where it's not like a restaurant or a fast food restaurant where you just kind of, you pay the franchise fee, you get the location, you pay the lease, build up fee, and then you open it and you can hire just average staff employees and you go. This is much more specialized. But from what I can hear, it sounds to me like you said, you're definitely not what did you say, luxury medical spa? Right, you're definitely not that, but you are luxury medical care, not in the sense that your prices are so high, but because it sounds like you really cater to your patients and really get to know them and they become family to you.
And that's exactly right. Again, we've built this business organically and referral based, and we have incredible patient retention rates. And that's how, we build lifelong customers, truly lifelong customers. And, a lot of it, again, in the startup phase, you're also purchasing equipment that is somewhat costly. And that's where kind of the upfront working capital money comes into play. So again, what makes our model unique is you're building this wonderful longevity medical practice, but you're also, you've got great assets, right? We're talking things like hyperbaric oxygen chambers and things that are very unique that maintain their value down the road. And yes, to your point, this is not a lower level admin staff. This is, trained medical professionals that do require higher salaries.
Well,
But
and
in
even sorry, but even your patient care representatives, it sounds to me like you definitely want to go above and beyond to make sure that you find the right people who know how to treat the kind of clientele that you are catering to. And a good example that I could use is I waited tables for many years, and one of those places was in an exclusive country club on a very expensive lake. And as servers, we had to know the difference and we had to know how to treat these folks. Not that they were better, but they paid for this. They paid for this. They worked hard to get to that point, and that is so. It sounds to me that's exactly what you're looking for here. And plus, we're talking about the working capital. My brain just went blank, but there's going to need to be a certain amount of working capital there to pay the staff before you even open the doors.
And that's exactly right. And these are higher touch elective services. And you're exactly right. We need to not only look the part, but we need to act the part. And that does require specialized training, not medical training, but
Right.
more of that hospitality training and presence. And that requires a little bit more upfront cost. Absolutely.
Right. Now, let's see, what was my next question? This is exciting. Again, we're talking to Dr. Joe Radich. He is the certified PA, owner of R3 Health, and he's really brought his vision to life for healthcare at what I would call an elite level to really help people be their best and enjoy the experience when they come into their location for whatever treatment that it is that they do. So your ideal franchisee candidate, so they don't necessarily need to be a hands-on operator, correct? But if they're not, the person they hire to run it does need to be definitely that hands-on community oriented person.
That's absolutely right. Yeah, the franchisee doesn't necessarily need to be, involved per se, but definitely if you want to have a successful location, you need somebody who's going to be involved in the day to day and who's very well connected with the community.
Right. If it were me and I had that kind of capital and I was looking to do this and I was going to be that type of investor who was not necessarily be like hands off, as we say, I'd want to hire somebody that I could give an ownership stake in the business so that I would know that they are really going to run this, like it was their own money being spent for sure. So tell us about the cost that it's going to average to get one of these locations open, and what's the turnaround time before they will actually begin to open the door and begin to start generating some revenue?
Yeah. So, again, depending on the actual footprint of the brick and mortar, depending on, the lease negotiations and how much TI money you're going to get towards construction, there's a big, obviously, delta there. But I can tell you that loosely, to give you a range, you're anywhere from on the lowest of low, probably 500,000. And, on the highest of high, you're probably at a million and a half, somewhere in that range, depending on all the variables here and the size of the location. And again, a lot of that is equipment costs up front, key operations staff and medical professional, salaries and overhead for some months, initial inventories, money for a little bit of construction, et cetera. Those are the big costs ultimately.
Right.
As far as, yeah, go ahead.
Well, no, so the services that you offer, this is a very important question. I know that we'd love to cover it. The payment for those services tell us the percentage of what's covered by insurance, what they pay directly, because those are good numbers people would love to know.
They are good numbers and good questions. And I will tell you that we are 100% a cash business, zero insurance. And that's a beautiful model because again, you're not waiting on, reimbursements and
Right.
arguing with this insurance company and this carrier and Medicare and all of this nonsense. You are paid at time of service. So we don't deal with any of that nonsense with billing and repayments, etc. So, from the time that we have a franchisee or owner who's committed, I mean, you really can get open probably within 6 months, depending on construction. It really just ultimately depends on the construction timeline. Training can happen, within a 60 to 90-day window. I think it's very important to have a successful location, to have a great medical practitioner. That's probably one of the most key hires, because a lot of our business model is based upon recommendations that that practitioner is going to be giving to your patients. So I think really start to finish, you can probably get open in 6 months. Training really is probably half that time. Again, depending on the medical professional and depending on the main operator. If someone comes into this with lots of medical knowledge and background and lots of medical operation, it's going to be much more of a streamlined training and opening process for sure.
And then, so now there's another really good question. So let's say you get a franchisee comes on board, they get their staff together. How much time are you personally going to spend with that staff? And especially, like you said, the PA, if you will, if that's the person who's going to be running it, how long will it take for you to spend with them to tailor them to exactly what you're doing here?
Yeah, so we have some actual on-site requirement here at our headquarter facility. So we're going to require that team to spend some time here in our facility, a couple of weeks. And then we've set up dedicated milestones where we will actually go to the site, to the team on site, and do remote training there as well. And those are all required as part of signing on board with us, because ultimately what makes us us is the quality of care that we deliver. And so we need to make sure that that team is trained, perfectly, so that way they can execute the model successfully.
Well, sure. And being a franchise owner, you'd want to have that kind of training so that you could, because again, the whole purpose of franchising is to what we call plug and play. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. All these systems are proven. You don't have to guess, well, what are we going to bill? How are we going to get paid? And that's why I love franchising, because in today's economy where inflation has really just gone up and doesn't look like it's going back down, I still say that franchising is the very best way for an entrepreneur to open a new business. Again, for all those reasons, it's plug and play. There's no guesswork involved. You pay the fees, you pay the construction costs, and once you open those doors, your training's done, it's off to the races. It's like having a fine-tuned sports car that the mechanics have already gone over, the pit crews check the tires, and it's ready to go. It's full of gas. You get in that thing, you fire it up, and you step on the gas, and you go. So it's
Right.
really cool. Yep. So on average, how many patients do you see per month at your anchor location?
Yeah, that's a good question. So right now I can tell you we probably on average, if I had to guesstimate, we probably see probably about 200 to 250 appointments a week, a month, excuse me.
Wow,
Yep.
that's a lot of
And
folks.
it is. It's a lot of folks. And again, this is something that grows organically pretty fast. This is definitely an area of healthcare that is exponentially booming. These are services that people are looking for. People are looking for good providers, which has been very difficult to find throughout the country. So again, we've got a proven system. And what's really unique is, again, the way that we do it. There are other functional medicine clinics out there. There are other franchises out there, but nobody does the true medical beauty regen all inclusive. You might find a functional medicine office that does, hormones or peptides or IVs, but nobody puts it all together under one roof. And that's really what differentiates us from other functional medicine clinics and other functional medicine franchises in particular.
That's great. Yeah. And again, look at the website, R, the letter R, the number three, health.co. And just looking at the website, you can tell it's a class operation. And the franchise website, r3healthfranchise.com. We are talking to Dr. Joe Radich. And this is a man who, how many years have you been doing this now? You said 15.
Yes, sir.
And then how long have you actually had this business open?
6 years.
6 years. And what kind of growth have you seen in that 6 years?
We've been very blessed to have some pretty amazing growth. Believe it or not, COVID was actually a huge accelerator for our field of medicine. People realized very quickly that they need to take better care of themselves and also seek out kind of alternate methodologies to healthy living. But we are year over year since our business inception, year over year growth. And I'm not talking 1-2% growth. We're at 25, 35, 40, 50% growth some years over years.
Wow.
So pretty impressive. And I know, people may think this is a high startup cost, but our margins are incredible. And we have a very high revenue business.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Um,
but you're not talking about small. That's just a horrible word to use, but people understand it. It's not small ticket prices either, right? So yeah, and any common sense entrepreneur knows, hey, I'm happy to spend 1.5 million if in 3 years I can be making 1.5 million per year or on up from there. So that's a no-brainer right there. Well, let's take just a second and pause here. Let's talk about our sponsor for Franchise Flashlight podcast series, which is Franchise Marketing Systems. They are your number one choice in the United States and Canada for creating a franchise, a professional franchise model out of your business that you have worked hard to grow and to build, just like Dr. Joe Radich has. And what's great about Franchise Marketing Systems is the cost to hire them is going to be equivalent of what you would hire any other franchise attorney or franchise marketing company to do the same thing, but they do so much more than the others. It's about 11 different things that they do for you, including your franchise disclosure document, your franchise information website, which we're just talking about, your operations manual, your help you file your federal trademark, and so many different things. And then when they're done doing all of that, which they will communicate with you every step of the way, like you just really wouldn't believe. They're going to help you promote and sell your franchises once it's done. And the best part is, if all that wasn't enough, they break their fee up for you into 6 to 8 monthly installments, which allows you to have operating capital while they're in the process of creating your very professional franchise for you. They've helped over 700 brands. And if you're one of those entrepreneurs that's been thinking about it and would love more information, call me directly, Todd Abraham, 423-405-4040 for a free, no pressure consultation. I'll put you in touch with the entire team and we'll talk about your business model and how we can help you. And also, if you are an entrepreneur looking to buy a franchise, we also help you with that service too at no charge. 423-405-4040. All right, we are back. So tell us, and by the way, before I get into the next question, my mom is a retired real estate broker and she lives at Lake Oconee, Georgia. I don't know if you ever heard of it, but it's a very expensive lake, about an hour and a half east southeast of Atlanta. It's growing, has been for years. In fact, they're getting another Publix. Literally, these two Publix grocery stores are like 5 miles apart. If that tells anything about the income level, but your business would fit perfectly right there because you're talking about multiple developments with multi-million-dollar homes, and it's a beautiful area, but this practice would do very, very well there for sure. So tell us more about the business. What else would you like your franchisees candidates to know that we haven't talked about yet?
Again, I think just understanding the momentum of this field. Again, you go to any social media platform, and if you've ever looked at anything that has to do with health or wellness or fitness, you're going to hear somebody talking about peptides or somebody talking about supplements or somebody talking about this IV treatment or that injection. So this is an area of healthcare that in the US right now is exponentially growing, and it is not going to stop. Our traditional medical healthcare system here in the US is not good. People are sick of it. People recognize it's not good. They are actively seeking alternatives. And that's just nothing but incredible for our business and our model. We are really excited about the future of our business. Again, I think we are really one of those practices that has really spent a lot of time and effort differentiating ourselves. And the fact that we create this full health, wellness, longevity ecosystem is so different than anything else that is really out there We're really excited about our future and our model. And so, again, I think if you've had interest in this area or this sector, and especially this area of healthcare, there's really nothing out there like it, like we've put together. So we're really excited about our future.
Yeah, and I love the way you word that, the full health ecosystem. That's very well said. And plus, just in case, as he said, what I love about it is the 100% cash business. That is priceless in today's health because we all know the woes that medical professionals go through billing insurance companies and billing Medicare and all these, and it could be a procedure that was covered when they came in, and by the time that the billing gets through, they say, "Oh, we changed the rules on how we're paying for this," blah blah blah, and it leaves a lot of medical healthcare professionals in a lurch, basically, and you know that better than anybody.
Yeah, for sure. And even after all that rigmarole and all that nonsense, you still end up with a huge bill,
Yeah.
right? So, so why not cut that piece out of the equation altogether and just provide that elective, transparent, upfront service with no questions and no secrets? And that's what people are really seeking and wanting nowadays is the transparency, the communication, the openness, and not having to deal with all the headaches through our traditional healthcare system. And that's
Right.
really why people are seeking us out.
And the type of clientele that you're attracting are folks that have the money to pay for the services. So there is no, well, oh, can I pay you next week or can, can I make payments on it? And no disrespect to those people because I've been with those people, but I'm just saying, I'm speaking from a pure business standpoint for someone that's looking to open an R3 Health. How would you describe it?
Yeah, like a integrative medicine, longevity medicine clinic.
Right.
Yeah.
But yes, practice in their area. Now, so we talked about the investment. It's going to be somewhere between 500,000 to 1.5 million, because again, you've got staff to hire, specialized staff to hire. You've got equipment, which I know once you order it, it's going to take a couple of months in many cases for them to build it, to ship it. But you're going to help them with all that. You're going to help them to know where to find the hyperbaric chamber and where to find all these different pieces of equipment. You've already got the suppliers in place, right?
Absolutely correct. Yeah, we are the true definition of turnkey, right? So again, whether you come into this with medical background or not is irrelevant because we give you the playbook. And we've really spent a lot of time, energy, and effort to really streamline the onboarding, training, and opening process. Again, we've been here at this location for 5, 6 years. We've learned a lot. We've made a lot of expensive mistakes. And we've really done, I think, a really great job of streamlining the entire process from start to finish.
So here's several good questions. One's probably obvious, but when someone opens R3 Health in there, let's say it's Lake Oconee, Georgia, they're going to go as an additional location on your primary website, correct?
Yes.
Yep. So there will be no need for them to wait for a website to be built for their own location. And my next question was, if my brain don't take a detour on me. So you allow, here it is. You'll allow franchise owners to own more than one location.
We do. Yeah, we absolutely do. And actually, we give, discounts in that regard. Because again, once we find a really great owner or owner operator, we want to keep them because they know the system, they know how to build it, they know what's going to work, they know what geography is not going to work, they know what we're looking for, what kind of synergistic businesses we're looking for. So absolutely, yes. And so, yes, you can own multiple location sites.
And since this first time you and I have talked, but as I said, after speaking with Julietta, and she sings your praises, and that's great. But franchisees that come on board with you and they see ideas for maybe more services or improved methods or whatever, you seem like the type of person to be very open to that and working with them.
Yeah, definitely. So one of the unique things about our field of medicine is it's constantly evolving. And so we have to evolve our programming and our service offering as the industry evolves. And so whether it's my personal practice, whether it's a franchise location, we will be, up to date and continuously evolving equipment and SOPs and service offerings and all of these different types of things, including the need and the requirement for ongoing training for the staff. And that's
Right.
the reason we do that ongoing training, is to get people up to speed with changes that are happening in our world.
Well, yeah, because the medical world does seem like it advances very quickly, probably more so than most fields because of technology and because of all the billions of dollars just being spent in research. But like you were saying, it's a very booming industry. But again, because of the type of clientele that you deal with, I mean, the United States of America's got a massively big baby boomer population. So there's no shortage of potential patients that are out there. What is the average age range of your patients?
That's a very interesting question, because when I first started the practice, it was much higher than where it is now. So if you were to ask me 5 years ago what our average patient age was, I'd probably tell you 50, 55. Now we're starting to see our average patient is probably down to 40, maybe even potentially lower. So again, what's unique about our model and our industry and our scope is, if you can get that patient in through your doors and into your office at an earlier age, you're literally developing a lifelong customer, which is a very unique situation.
Yeah, especially in the medical industry where it is an all cash business for sure. So I think we've covered about everything that we can cover. So just to wrap this up, we're talking again with Dr. Joe Radich of R3 Health. It's r3health.co, and the franchise information website, r3healthfranchise.com. And this is really a very professional, all cash, full health ecosystem business that brings, as he said, all of those different things in one location. I hate to use Walmart as an example, but that's what made Walmart great, is they brought everything in one. I mean, Sam Walton was a genius because he said, I can sell the same thing and sell it for less in a very professional atmosphere environment and make my money on the volume. And now Walmart has the largest family of billionaires, I think, in the United States of America. And a neat fact about him is our local store manager has been with Walmart for about 30 plus years. He is an awesome guy. And he actually worked with Sam Walton. And he told me, he said he was a great guy. He's very friendly, but he is also very professional, and he didn't put up with no garbage. So that's cool. Well, Dr. Joe, this has been awesome. Tell us any closing thoughts you have, and what's the best way for somebody who's interested in buying a franchise with you? Would their contact be? I know there's a form on the website, the franchise information website, but do you want to give Julietta's number out there for someone to reach out to? How do you want to go about it?
Yeah, for anybody who's really interested in exploring our franchise offering and location offering, I definitely encourage you to go to the franchise website, r3healthfranchise.com. You can certainly go to our main practice website, r3health.co. And again, just familiarize yourself with us, what we do. We're very education and content driven, so you'll get to learn and read a lot about us, our business, etc. That's really the best starting point. We like to just have a conversation. We obviously want to get and collect some very basic information, but we're a very big, relationship driven business. And so we really want to just connect with you, learn a little bit about you, your professional history, where you want or think this location should be. And we really want to just make sure that we're a good fit for each other. So we really like to just start with a conversation and really get to know each other, because that's what we feel really helps a location be successful. So those are really the best ways to connect, just so that way we can just start a conversation.
That's great. That's great. Well, it's been an excellent podcast. And two, if you're interested in buying a franchise with this awesome company, you can contact me directly, Todd Abraham, at 423-405-4040. And I can get you more information, put you in touch with either Dr. Joe or Julietta, his director of business development. And this is fantastic. And hey, listen, thanks for being on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks so much, Todd. I appreciate it.